Welcome to Novam Tempest. Let's dive right into the Goma crisis. I bet you didn't know the bustling city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo, once a vibrant hub of life and trade, is now grappling with a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions. The recent takeover by the M23 rebel group has plunged the city into chaos, leaving its residents struggling for survival. Food shortages have become the new normal, with prices skyrocketing to unimaginable levels. The conflict has crippled supply chains, making basic necessities unaffordable for many. Goma, a city known for its breathtaking landscapes and resilient people, now faces a different reality. Markets, once overflowing with goods, now bear witness to empty stalls and despair. The takeover by the M23 rebels has brought with it not just violence, but also a suffocating blanket of hunger, leaving the city teetering on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe. The city's strategic location, nestled near the Rwandan border, has made it a focal point of conflict for years. Control of Goma means control of vital trade routes and access to the region's rich mineral resources. This latest chapter in Goma's turbulent history is a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict, as ordinary citizens are caught in the crossfire, their lives upended by forces beyond their control. The most immediate and devastating consequence of the M23 takeover has been the sharp rise in food prices. Essential commodities like flour, beans, and cooking oil have become luxury items, their prices soaring beyond the reach of ordinary citizens. A bucket of rice, once a staple in the Congolese diet, has seen its price nearly double, while the cost of clean drinking water has also skyrocketed. The conflict has effectively choked off Goma's supply lines. The city, heavily reliant on food supplies from surrounding regions, now finds itself cut off from its lifeline. The M23 rebels, in their bid to consolidate control, have blockaded key access roads, strangling the flow of goods into the city. This calculated tactic has had a crippling effect on Goma's already fragile economy, pushing it further into the abyss of desperation.
The stories emerging from Goma paint a grim picture of daily life in a city under siege. Families are forced to make impossible choices, often going without entire meals to make their meager supplies last.
The conflict has forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes, seeking refuge in overcrowded displacement camps scattered around the city. These camps, already stretched beyond capacity, are now struggling to cope with the influx of new arrivals. The lucky ones find shelter in cramped tents, while others are left to fend for themselves, sleeping under the open sky, exposed to the elements and vulnerable to disease. The conditions in these camps are deplorable. Sanitation is poor, clean water is scarce, and healthcare facilities are overwhelmed. Diseases like cholera, a constant threat in such environments, spread rapidly, particularly among young children whose weakened immune systems make them more susceptible.
The trauma of displacement is etched on their faces, their eyes reflecting a deep sense of loss and uncertainty.
Amid the despair, the voices of Goma's residents, their stories of resilience and desperation, pierce through the silence.
With tears in her eyes, she describes how soaring food prices have forced her to make excruciating choices, skipping meals herself so that her children can have at least a few bites to eat.
Prudent Kahindo, a young mother living in a displacement camp, echoes Julienne's plight.
Her voice cracks as she speaks of her fear for her children's future, their tiny bodies growing weaker by the day. The camp, she says, offers some semblance of safety, but the lack of food and basic necessities makes every day a struggle for survival.
Local aid workers, many of them volunteers, share their experiences on the front lines of this crisis. They speak of the overwhelming needs, the sheer scale of the suffering, and the challenges they face in trying to reach those most in need.
Their stories are a testament to the courage and compassion of those working tirelessly to alleviate the suffering.
These are not just statistics or abstract figures, they are real people, with names, faces, and stories that demand to be heard. Humanitarian organizations are working tirelessly to provide aid and relief to Goma's beleaguered population. However, their efforts are severely hampered by the ongoing insecurity and restricted access to the city.
The M23 rebels, despite declaring a ceasefire, continue to maintain a tight grip on key supply routes, making it difficult and dangerous for aid convoys to reach those in desperate need.
ActionAid, one of the organizations at the forefront of the humanitarian response, has issued urgent calls for safe and unhindered access to Goma. Time is of the essence, they emphasize, as the situation on the ground deteriorates with each passing day.
Delays in aid delivery could have catastrophic consequences, particularly for the most vulnerable children, pregnant women, and the elderly.
Local initiatives, driven by the spirit of community and resilience, have also sprung up in response to the crisis. Grassroots organizations, often operating with limited resources, are providing vital support, distributing food, offering medical assistance, and providing psychosocial support to those traumatized by the conflict.
The international community cannot afford to ignore the plight of Goma and the wider region. The situation demands a multifaceted approach, one that addresses both the immediate humanitarian needs and the root causes of the conflict. Rwanda's alleged support for the M23 rebels has further complicated the situation. The Rwandan government denies any involvement, but evidence suggests otherwise. This external interference only serves to exacerbate the conflict, making a lasting solution even more elusive. The M23 rebel group is just one of many armed groups vying for control of this mineral-rich region, their actions fueled by a toxic mix of greed, power struggles, and ethnic tensions. The crisis in Goma is not an isolated incident. It is a symptom of a much larger problem plaguing the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, a region grappling with decades of conflict, poverty, and instability.
Despite the bleakness of the situation, amidst the despair and uncertainty, flickers of hope endure in Goma. The resilience of the human spirit shines through in the actions of ordinary citizens who, despite facing unimaginable hardship, continue to exhibit extraordinary courage and compassion. Neighbors help neighbors, sharing their meager rations and offering words of comfort and encouragement. Local initiatives, driven by a deep sense of community, work tirelessly to fill the gaps left by an overwhelmed humanitarian response. The recent ceasefire, while fragile, offers a glimmer of hope that a more lasting peace might be possible. It is an opportunity for dialogue, for all parties to the conflict to lay down their arms and engage in meaningful negotiations. The international community must seize this opportunity, providing the necessary support and encouragement to ensure that these talks succeed. The road to recovery will be long and arduous. Rebuilding Goma, healing the wounds of conflict, and addressing the root causes of instability will require sustained effort from both within and outside the Democratic Republic of Congo. But amidst the ruins, a spirit of resilience flickers, a belief that even in the darkest of times, hope endures. Thank you for watching. At Novum Tempus, we are beginning to explore the bizarre. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and goodbye for now.